Hello and welcome to All in Art. Today I'm going to show some simple techniques on how to draw and paint feathers. And we'll actually be painting with a feather. So you don't need particular art materials. I can show you things that you can use from the home, and we're going to have fun with feathers. So I presume everybody is a little bit like me, that they pick up feathers when they're out walking, or they love seeing a small little white feather floating through the air on the ground. We feel like it's a sign from the heavens. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is draw these little feathers. This is actually a peacock feather. I can't remember where I got it, but these little white feathers that you see around. So the first thing on the page, I have a plain white page, is some water with our sprayer. If you don't have a sprayer, you can use a sponge. Just damp the page. This is just photocopy paper. And then if you have a small cup or a glass, we're going to do little half circles with a pen. This pen is just a roller black pen, a little bit like a gel pen, and there's different types you can get. If you haven't got one of these, you can try a soft pencil or just an ordinary pen. Now I'll do one this way as well. So just little half circles. And you can see that the ink is slightly bleeding into the paper because it's wet. Now what we're going to do is, if you hold your little feather, or if you have a phone and Google a picture of a small little feather, just to get an idea of the shape. So it's a little bit sort of raggy at the bottom. Just little marks coming out. And then more conformed marks. Now this is unusual because it's a peacock feather, but most of the little white feathers are this shape. So we'll do another one here. We'll just mark in the center. Doesn't matter if it's not straight. And then if you do the little feathery bits the way they are on the feather, so coming out from the center. Like these ones here might be a bit thicker. And at the end, there's usually a few scrappy bits. So the next thing we're going to do is use this long brown feather, and we're going to use the cold coffee technique. This coffee is like about 3 days old now. You can use a little makeup brush, or if you have a paintbrush, just holding it over a tissue, paint the coffee onto the feather. Just try and get the whole of the feather covered in coffee. And now this is where you have to be a little bit brave. Just in one swift movement, turn it over and drop it down onto the page. Then get your tissue and very gently drop that down on top of the feather. And then just press. Try to make sure you try not to move the feather. And then lift the tissue. And then lift the feather. Now I need a little bit more definition in this. So with your cold coffee, you can just very gently paint in the thick center bit of the feather. Just give it a little bit more shape. Maybe a couple of defined bits at the end here. And you could always go over it with a pen or pencil to put in some more detail later. Okay, so I've one last thing to show you. And when I'm doing things, I like to sort of get into the mood. So I have my bird earrings on. I have my dress with my exotic birds on it. And I have my feathers just sitting around to give me inspiration. So the last thing we're going to do is paint with a feather. So I'm dipping this feather into a combination of coffee and the turmeric paste that we made. And I'm just going to do nice little light brush strokes. If you think of the saying light as a feather. And then I'm going to try and get this center bit coming up here. So looking at this now, I'm going to use this part down here as the bottom. And then bigger feathery movements up here. Then I'm going to flick the feather around to do the other side. You can try this with lots of different size feathers. And just to give a little bit of definition, I have just chalk. You could use a piece of coal or a pencil, soft pencil. Just going to move the coffee around a little bit and put in some of the little feathery bits. A little bit of definition. And further inspiration is looking at birds and feathers on your phone or in books. This is a beautiful print from an artist called D. Ambrose that I'm very honoured to own. So there we have it, all things feathery. This is all in art with Barbara O'Mara Artist. Thank you and join me again.